Ted Cruz, a senator on the right who consistently lies to the American people and his own constituents, is apparently a fan of Senators Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. And it's because of the fact that they are standing up to progressive policy proposals that would materially benefit the lives of Americans. Now, with that said, let's take a look at what Senator Ted Cruz said during a conversation with Maria Bartiromo.
This is the Bernie Sanders budget. Bernie Sanders is a wide-eyed and admitted socialist. He says this is the most transformational bill in a generation. He means it. It is trillions in spending. It is trillions in new taxes. It is the Green New Deal. Everyone who pays taxes in America will see their taxes go up under this massive proposal. Individual taxes are going up. Corporate taxes are going up. Small business taxes are going up. Capital gains taxes are going up. The death tax is going up. Seniors are getting hammered, farmers, ranchers, small businesses. It is disastrous. Whether it passes or not will depend on 50 Democrats in the Senate. Do they get Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema to go along? I can tell you Chuck Schumer is putting a world of hurt and pressure on the two of them. I hope they stand their ground, that they have demonstrated some real courage so far, standing up to the crazies in their party.
Let me decode that for you. Okay, Ted Cruz is essentially saying, hey, my taxes are going up, Maria Bartiromo's taxes are going up, but let's just make one thing abundantly clear. Middle class taxes, working class Americans will not see their taxes go up unless they privatize more public infrastructure, which will mean that corporations will implement tolls and fees every time you use roads and bridges, then your taxes do go up. But the way that this is being proposed in the budget reconciliation bill is, yes, capital gains taxes do go up, which I think is a good thing, and taxes for those making more than $400,000 a year would go up. Now, we don't know the specific details yet because they're still working on writing the legislation, but I just want to note a few things, Cenk, before I go to you, because this budget reconciliation bill that he's fear-mongering about includes the following. Provisions that would lower drug prices. It would expand Medicare to include vision, hearing, and dental. It would also lower the Medicare eligibility age from 65 to 60. It would make the child tax credits permanent. It would offer universal pre-K. It would offer mandatory paid family leave. It would respond to climate change in a more robust way than what we've experienced in this country so far. It would also offer 2 years of free community college. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Again, the budget reconciliation bill is the biggest, most relevant bill in materially improving Americans' lives in decades. And that's why these goons like Cruz are against it. The fact that he's praising Sinema and Manchin is not a good look for Sinema and Manchin.
Yeah, I mean, he said, I'm glad they're fighting back against the crazies of their party by supporting the crazies in the other party. I mean, so they're happy to receive the credit from Cancun Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, who is one of the most vile right-wing sociopaths in the country, and Manchin and Sinema are saying, oh, it's okay. We don't want credit for working with Bernie Sanders and AOC. We want credit for working with Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell. And you would think, look, that's absurd if you're a Democrat. Democrats hate Mitch McConnell and Ted Cruz, rightfully so, for all their policies and all the actions that they've used to block progress for Americans. But if you watch the press, no. Working with Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell makes you godlike, heavenly, wonderfully bipartisan. Working for actual voters makes you crazy and radical. Guys, if you had the actual facts, we would win so easily and overwhelmingly. Because take the example we've been talking about all day today, lower drug prices. Who's gonna vote for higher drug prices if you know that it saves the government money and it saves you money and you get access to drugs like every other country in the world has, but that we're denied? Who would vote against that? Nobody would vote against that. So what happens? You have to send in your corporate goons that are the politicians like Ted Cruz and Kyrsten Sinema, and they have to say, oh my God, the taxes are gonna go up. But wait a minute, let's break it down. Here's facts. He says the death tax would go up. That's the estate tax on estates over $10 million. Do a lot of you have $10 million? And you're worried about, because it only applies for a dollar above 10 million. You're worried about your 11th million, your 110th million. How many of you out there are that? But their donors are really worried about it, because for them, that's a big section of their donors. And then he says, oh my God, the capital gains tax would go up. That applies almost exclusive to rich people who already have a lot of wealth. It's not on your salary. That's a tax that goes on investments. And it's not higher than what you get charged. It's lower than what you get charged.
Significantly lower.
So look, if you had the facts, even his own Republican voters would vote with us overwhelmingly. So that's why they bribe the politicians. That's why they have the corporate media give you the bills in a completely twisted way. So the corporate one that screws you, they call the bipartisan moderate version. Seems sane and good and wonderful. And the other versions they call radical, because it doesn't help corporations. And of course, the last part of this is the ads. And so I want to go to one of our members who has got an on-the-ground report on this. Zide Girl wrote in, the Atlanta TV market is being inundated with heritage ads saying Democrats are quote unquote lying to us about pharmaceuticals, that Democrats want to take away needed drugs from citizens. Ads are nonstop.
Jesus.
So now that's a total and utter lie, but you're allowed to lie in political ads.
Yep.
That's an amazing fact about America. So the drug companies go, well, if we're allowed, why would we tell them the truth? We want to charge them as much as humanly possible until they're almost all broke and they're all working as indentured servants for all of us, and we've sucked every penny we could out of them. So let's just lie to them in the ads, tell them that that the Democrats are going to take away their drugs. Not remotely true, not in the bill. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be true. Ted Cruz saying it doesn't have to be true. Corporate media, it doesn't have to be true. So that's how they deceive you into voting for things that are wildly against your interests. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.